regular facial massage can help us look and feel younger. So today we're going to talk about Gua Sha. Okay, let me start that again. This is where winging it can be tricky. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, I'm Mary. I'm 50 years old and I love finding ways to help me look as young as I feel. Now that segues perfectly into today's topic, which is all about Gua Sha. So this is a technique that has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for many, many years. And essentially it's using a tool to scrape the skin. So Gua means to stroke or to press, and Sha refers to redness or even a rash. So in its more traditional methods, it can cause a severe redness, and I think it was probably done in a lot more of an aggressive manner than it's used by most of us today. So the way that I'm using it, and I'll show you today, is actually a far gentler way to use the Gua Sha. So the reason I wanted to talk about it today is it's something that's actually kind of become a part of a regular routine. Now, I've been doing it for, I don't know, a couple of years, but it was something I was only doing sort of occasionally, like on the weekends when I had a bit more time, or maybe if my skin just needed a little extra pamper, and I would sort of build it into my spa Sunday routine. But I've been doing it pretty much daily now for a couple of weeks, and I'm finding that I like it so much that I thought it was something I'd share. There are a couple of really great benefits to doing this on a regular basis. And one is it gets things moving. It's just a circulation thing. It gets your blood flowing and it gets your energy going and it gets things moving around sort of up here, and that's brilliant. A second is that it relieves tension, particularly for people who have sort of clenched jaws or they have headaches. You're hitting these pressure points on your face and you're kind of giving it a bit of massage so it starts to relieve some of that tension. Another thing that it can help with is lymphatic drainage. We have sort of stagnant fluid that can build up in our face and in our head, and this process helps to relieve that. So it reduces puffiness and can reduce inflammation. Then there's the cosmetic side of things, just how it makes us look, and it has benefits there too. So it can help to sort of lift the contours of our face. It can actually create contours sort of around the cheekbones, and it can help to smooth out wrinkles. So doing all of these things on a regular basis, say, between 4 and 7 days a week, you start to really get those benefits. And for me, I actually just feels good. I really like the way that it feels, and I feel great at the end of it, and it just kind of does a little bit of a refreshment for me. So a couple of things before we get started on the demo, and I'll walk you through what I do every day. The first is just prepping the skin. Always start with clean skin, and what I will do then is once everything is cleaned, I do a bit of a spritz just to kind of moisturize and put some hydration into my skin. I use the one by La Roche-Posay, but any kind of essence or spray will do to give a bit of hydration. Then we look at the tools that we're going to use. I use this particular shape tool. There are loads of them out there. You can pick whichever one you want. There is no right way to do this. Basically, everybody's face is different, everybody's curvature is different, and any of these things will work. And in fact, I've seen and heard of people using things right out of the kitchen, using things like spoons, or even I saw somebody use the top of a jam jar. So as long as it has curvatures to it and it's something that fits comfortably in your hand, you don't want anything that has just sharp edges on it, just something that you can apply a little bit of pressure with. And then when it comes to serums and oils, I use a bit of both. Now, if I'm doing this in my evening routine, after I've washed my face, then I will use some of my evening serums and just build this into my regular skincare routine. One that I might use is a Ceramide serum by Arden and some Resveratrol by Beauty Pie, sort of anything that's going to give you some slip. And the same with oils. Any kind of oil, you need to have something on your skin that gives a bit of movement. You do not want to tug your skin. That's the one thing that's really, really important about this. We're not trying to harm our skin. We're trying to do this in a really gentle manner. So you want to be very conscious of the angle that you're using this on your face. Okay, so you actually want to have it as close to flat as you can when you're on your skin. So it's like this. What you don't want to do is to have it perpendicular. So you want to just have it lying down as much as you can and pulling it across. And you're using a medium pressure. You don't want something so light that you're not feeling the benefit of it, but you don't want this to be painful. It shouldn't hurt, and it should be gentle. Okay, so kind of a medium pressure is what you're going for. Basically, there's no right or wrong way to do this. What I do is just what I do, and it's just, I choose the edges that I want, I choose the way in which I do it based on the curvatures of my own face, and everybody's different. There are loads of things you can do online to take a look at it. There are lots of different techniques, but this is what I do for me. It works best for the device that kind of fits my face and the size of my face. So, have a bit of fun, experiment with it, just be gentle and be kind to your skin. Okay, so now we're gonna walk through sort of what my regular routine would be. So I've started off here with clean skin, And I've done my spritz already, and I'm using a jojoba oil for this because this gives me really good slip, and it's really, really moisturizing anyway. It's great for the skin. So I put this sort of all over, all of the areas that I'm going to have the tool touching my body. So for me, that's the face, it's the neck, it's the chest, and I'm even doing behind my neck because that's where I start with my, my first move. So everything is really well hydrated, and that oil is well distributed everywhere. So it's going to give you that movement. That's it that I need. Okay, so we start off actually with the small curvature and on the back of our neck. So we're trying to relieve some of that tension. So you put that at the base of the neck and you move it upwards. And at the end of the move, you give it a little jiggle, and that's the massaging technique. So you're pulling it up and you're giving it a little bit of a jiggle, and it relieves that tension. So you would do this anywhere from 3 to 10 times, depending on how much you want and how much you need. So I'm usually somewhere in the 4 to 6, depending on the area. So then I'm moving down to the neck, and you hold your finger here to keep a bit of tension, and then using the long side, I just go up the neck and I give it a wiggle. And I do that again maybe 4 or 5 times. And then I'm moving down a little bit more, and I'm holding that clavicle bone and I'm moving it up and I'm giving it a bit of a wiggle. Okay. Now when you move to the center, this is where you're going to use a little bit less pressure because you're going right here on the trachea. So you use a little bit less pressure, but you move it up and you give it a wiggle right underneath your neck. Give it that wiggle. Very gentle. Okay. And then we're going to use that edge, and then what we're going to do is bring it back down. So we sort of start by going up, and then we end with the neck by bringing it back down. This helps with the drainage and to get the fluid coming back down into the body. And same, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, whatever you want to do. And then I move over and I do the other side. So the exact same moves, start with going up in multiple points, and then you end with going down. And then I also like to do the chest area. And then again, you're starting on one side, you're holding your hand here, and then you're bringing it across. And you're doing it nice and slow, and you give it a little wiggle. Okay, and then you do the same part going up. Remembering to always kind of anchor your hand there to keep the skin taut. Okay, and then we do the other side. So now we're going to move on to the face. This is probably one of my 2 favorites. It's actually working on the jawline because I'm of an age where you start to get those little jowls. So you hold 2 fingers underneath your mouth, and you slowly pull the device up towards your ear and give yourself a little bit of a lift at the end, and then you give it that little massage. So you pull, you lift, and you wiggle. I tend to do this about 10 times. Then I flip it over and use the longer side, holding it as an anchor, and I go up and underneath my cheekbone, and this is what helps to carve that cheek. And remember to always lift at the end. Lift on the end of your face and give it that little massage. And then I use the smaller piece and I straddle the cheekbone. So you're kind of going above and beneath. And again, it's that carving motion that really helps to define the cheekbone. Give it that wiggle. And this is what really helps with that sort of headachy, tensiony part that sits here at the temple. Now the eye area is very sensitive, and this is where we slow things down a lot when it comes to the pressure. Now I'm using the large corner, and it ever so slightly, it's like I'm barely touching it, it's feather light. I'm pulling it across and I'm pulling it up. So I don't want to hurt this delicate part of the eye, so I'm being very, very gentle. But the whole motion is going up, and it's helping to relieve some of those crow's feet. So going above the eye then, again, we use that center straddle, and you're going over the brow bone and you're giving it a lift. Over the brow bone and giving it a lift. Okay. And now we are going to use the longer end and work on the forehead. So it's actually starting just over the eyebrow. Hold your eye to keep it in place, and you pull it up. It looks more aggressive than it really is, so I'm being gentle to it, but you do want to have enough pressure that you're actually moving the skin in a helpful manner. And then we move into the center of our face and do the same. That's really great for these sort of lines on the forehead. But I find this whole thing is just so relaxing. It feels so good. And now we're just going to go and do the other side of the face. This whole routine takes about 7 minutes, I think, 7 or 8 minutes, somewhere in that territory. And just at the end of this, my skin feels refreshed. You can experience a bit of redness in certain areas, and that's okay too, because it just means the blood is flowing and things are moving around. So don't be afraid of that. Just make sure you're not doing yourself any harm. You're not hurting yourself. It's not meant to hurt. So that's the routine that I'm doing pretty much every day. In the mornings, I will do it. On the weekends when I have a bit more time, and I'll use a heavier oil like the jojoba oil or other facial oils that I have. And in the evenings, I tend to go more serum based so I can build that into my nighttime routine. I think it's a great thing to do. It makes me feel refreshed. And if you haven't tried it, I suggest you give it a go. So if you've tried Gua Sha yourself and you have a few techniques that you really like, please pop that information down below because I'd love to hear more. So if you like this video, I really hope you'll subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and also hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video, which is every Friday. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave those notes for me down. What? I don't even know what I normally say. What?